Hi there, this is Dan Fenton's presentation for 4010, 2 of 3. So today we're going to be talking about wall frames bracing regarding RP Holdings policy and the types of bracing that can be used in residential construction. So the types of bracing that we get is ply bracing, which is normal just plywood, big sheets of plywood, strap bracing, your normal hoop iron, and then angle bracing, which is steel at a 90-degree angle, sort of about 20 mil thick, which is used for bracing. So we'll start off with ply bracing and its applicable standards. So roof and wall cladding, AS 1562.1 2018, and then table 3.5.4.5 stud and fixing spacings for ply wood cladding equal to or greater than 6.5 mil thick. So generally in ply bracing you would end up using 7 mil ply, which is the most common ply used for ply bracing at the moment. And then there's just a few things, the correct installation and the following guides that need to be followed when installing ply bracing would be maximum nail spacings of 1.8 mil, using 1.8 mil galvanized clouts or flatheads are recommended, and then minimum 12 mil from the edge of sheets, and then external corners no less than 50 mil spacing, and then the wall fastens to penetrate no more than 30 mil into the stud, and that's because cables and plumbing are often chased through the stud frame, and you don't want to accidentally put a nail through the plumbing. And then wall cladding can be fixed through steel, and that will be with AS 84.2.3 and 0.4. Structural ply must comply with the AS and New Zealand standard of 2269. And then you could also be fixed according to the table 3.5.4.5. So according to the sort of design wind speed of the area where you're framing would require the amount of fixings and the spacing. So we'll just go an example of N1, which would be then your maximum stud spacings at 600. Generally, we all frame 450. And then you've got sort of your maximum nail spacings for external corners of the building or elsewhere. So for instance, we'll go maximum nail spacing elsewhere for N3, which is the body, which would be 200 mil spacing, and the edges at 150. I prefer on my side, what we do is bottom plate and top plate, we would go 50 mil spacings, top and bottom, and then 150 on the sides, and then close to sort of 200 down the middle studs. And then we would repeat that process along that wall. Oh, and as I forgot to mention, you can also use a lot of the time those nails do fit into the pass load nail gun, which does make life a lot easier as opposed to using a compressor gun. Then strap bracing, which is also fairly common or often known as hoop iron, which is used. So the applicable standard for that is Section 8 AS 1684/2010 Residential Timber Framing Code, and Type A bracing to comply with Table 8.2 depending on the stud and its wall size framing. And then a wind zone N1 to N2 clause 1.6 part 4. So obviously depending on sort of size and height, things like that of your wall, would require how many X bracings you would require on that wall. So the correct installation for strap bracing angle would be between 40 and 50 degrees, but minimum 30 and 60 degrees when strapping. Tensioners must be used to tighten prior to nailing. Prior to connector nails to be used, the 35 mil and 3.5 minimum. Then machine driven nails are 35.2.3, which is for the PAS load coil nail gun, the cordless, and then 2 nails through each stud and 2 nails into bottom plate. And the best way is to always try slide it around and bring it back to the outside of your bottom plate and top plate, which then gives sort of a greater sort of fixing, in the front and the back of the plate with 2 nails either side. Then we'll talk a bit about angle bracing. So the applicable standards there is Section 8 of 1684/2010 residential timber framing. Type A bracing apply with table 8.2 depending on the wall, its frame, its size. Then the wind zone N1, N2 clause 1.6 part 4. And then you've got your correct installation. So prior to connecting nails, once again, need to be used 35.315mm. Machine driven nails can be used, which is obviously a lot quicker and a faster process. 2 nails through each, top plate, bottom plate, and on the studs. And then the angle bracing actually requires notches to be cut out, which that would sit directly into. So it would be into your studs at a between a sort of 50 or 45 degree angle, and you'd do a cut of 20mm through that. No more than 20mm, because then you'll actually cripple the stud, which then would weaken it further. And obviously with the bracing, we're trying to brace it up, not cripple the wall. So those are the 3 types of bracings that can be used in timber frame residential construction. And I always go above and beyond when sort of on the nailing detail and things like that regarding ply bracing or hoop iron, strap bracing, in terms of nail fixings or how many they want, because you can never have more than enough bracing, and you'll never get caught up by an inspection from your structural engineer. He would never saddle you or mark you down for having an extra brace in this corner or ply brace in there, so forth. So yes, there is the minimum standard of nails and required fixings, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to go above and beyond and put 1 or 2 extra in here and there. And that concludes the presentation of the 3 types of bracing that is required.